Riding on day 2, Rothenburg of der Tauber to Heidelberg. Standard route 189 kilometers, 117 miles.
So second day of riding. We are on our way to Heidelberg. About 187 kilometers away. Going to do a bunch of stops, I think at a monastery, maybe a covered bridge. No doubt some castles. So it should be a good day of riding. Looking forward to it. I'm on a Harley Davidson 1250. I guess it's called a Pan America. And we'll see how it compares to the Ducati from yesterday. So that's Mark right in front of us. IM49LG, that's Mark. We're going to try and be the first 2 riders of the group, but we'll see how it goes. All right, we're off on our way to Heidelberg. But this is apparently the oldest city in Germany that wasn't bombed during World War II. So for some reason, and the night watchman did go over why, but I wasn't really listening. But all of these buildings were not destroyed during the war, where every other city we seem to be at, they've been destroyed and rebuilt multiple times. This city seems to have lasted. So interesting. Still has an original wall made out of wood going around the city. So I think this is about 600 years old. And I could be making that up, but I believe that's what I heard. So all of this stuff is older than Munich, etc. So I think this is part of the wall, hundreds of years old. So quite cool.
Today we will pass through a true fairy tale landscape over the Baden-Württemberg, where the famous University of Heidelberg is waiting for us. On the way, we will see castles, palaces, monasteries, and beautiful half-timbered villages, as well as a lot of quiet green countryside.
I think we're going to get there around 4:30 into Heidelberg. Yesterday morning was very hectic. Nerves were up there, obviously. One guy did have an incident and his bike fell over in the garage before we'd even started. And so that sort of set the tone for a lot of the morning, at least in my mind. And then the rider 2 ahead of me had an accident in a corner. I guess he wasn't ready for the road and it dipped down and the Harley sort of fell over and tweaked his knee. He is okay, and he is up ahead of us. So yeah, yesterday was a not the best of anything really. Technical problems, bike issues, but the riding was good. The roads here are very smooth for the most part. I see a few patches right here, but that's to be expected. They don't use that rubber snake stuff, I don't think, and cracks in their roads. I also don't think they get the winter that we do, so maybe there's no need for it. They also have an aversion to doing a straight line from point A to point B. So we are in the middle of a cornfield, and I see 4 corners that could have been made into one very straight line very easily. Enjoy the ride. So for the motorcycle guys, I'm going to compare the 2 bikes. So the Ducati had power instantly everywhere. You rolled on the throttle and that bike wanted to go. It also had very grabby brakes, and I had it on the softest suspension setting, so as soon as you grab the front brake, the front nose would dive a crazy amount. So I'm going to attribute that to the suspension settings that I chose. The back was also set on the Ducati so that it was as low as possible, and you could tell that it was very plush, almost bouncy. I don't have those feelings right now with the Harley. The brakes are more progressive. They're not biting nearly as strong, but they'll slow this bike down, I think. I'm going to test it a little while later. I don't want to do it while I have 4 guys following me. The transmission on the Harley is very clunky, and obviously way down on power, but transmission, I'm in 4th gear now, where I think this would have been 3rd gear on the Ducati. Engine doesn't feel as responsive as on the Ducati, but understandably the Ducati is a V4, this is a V-twin. Noise are comparable, to different sound obviously, but the volume is about the same. Again, I do not have earplugs in or any music playing in my ears. I wish I did. Neither bike, the Harley or the Ducati, have a motorized windscreen. You can adjust them by hand when you're stopped, or if you're adventurous you can do it while you're riding, but I'm not, so it's going to stay where it is. So I didn't really take the time to get to know the bike. I could barely figure out how to start it. So I think I'm going to see if I can keep this bike for the rest of the week. Maybe get a little more used to it. So very similar ergonomics to the Ducati. My legs are actually, now that I think about it, they're about the same spot. The seat, I'd say they're both fairly good. I sat on Mark's BMW and the seat is hard as a rock. So the Harley and the Ducati are very comfortable. All right, that's all I'm going to say for now. Very German-looking town. At least a lot of these buildings are. At least that's what I think of when I think of Germany or German towns, is buildings that look like those. Looking at the buildings, that's where we are anyways. Very well kept. Very clean. Smells like the countryside.
The first stop already offers a beautiful view of a deeply incensed river valley, which we will follow for a while.
Alright, so this is the group 1 taking off. That is a castle. It's been around since 1300s apparently, by a famous family. And inside there is a Deutsche Auto Museum, so Dutch cars, German cars I guess. We're just gonna walk down here. It's the Schloss Langenberg, and for anyone that reads German, there you go. For any that only speak English, there's not much here for you.
There is also a wonderful Baroque monastery on our way. Here we will take a break and be seduced by the treasures of the monastery's pastry shop.
Just a little update video. So we stopped, stopping at this little city, town, monastery, I think is what it actually is. So just give you a little bit of view of what I'm seeing, other than motorbikes. Yeah, looks like your typical monastery in the northeast of Germany. Yeah, we're gonna do a little tour, I think, with our guide, and maybe I'll record it.
We are walking in a monastery. Don't ask me what it's called, I can't remember.
It's just a courtyard of the monastery of some sort, and they need some roof maintenance.
But it was really, really cool riding our motorcycles in through all this.
Yeah. Not sure if I'm supposed to be doing this in a church, but this is pretty cool for 500 plus years old. Very cool. So this is a monastery. Here we have the MotoGP rider Dave going twice the speed limit. This looks very different than the Munich one.